I actually had
Hey
a
everyone, it's Fat Hobbit here with Angus Red Blue. So at Angus Red Blue, former British airborne and 6+ years doing all sorts of crazy high risk security consulting live from Cape Town in South Africa. Welcome, Angus.
thank you. Thank you everyone for having me. I hope today's informative and we'll see how it goes. Right, so I guess we'll get started. Today my talk is about, as the term says, I recruit hackers. So it's quickly about my personal journey getting into InfoSec, and then a little bit about how recruiting works and what matters to get the job. So here we go. Right, so today we'll be covering the following bits. So just my introduction. We'll touch on my path into InfoSec. We'll then talk about your entry into InfoSec. So various examples I've seen for the last 3 years doing recruiting. Then we'll touch on the more important bit, which is what matters. So we'll talk a little about resumes, LinkedIn, certs and degrees. As the warning goes, prepare for some ambiguity. I might hop around a bit. Then we'll go on to your career. We'll just talk about the short term, the medium term, and the long term decisions that you need to make sure your career goes well and that you represent yourself well and that you always bring value. We'll go through some tips and then hopefully some questions at the end. Right. So disclaimer, as it goes, this is my personal opinion. Doesn't represent the opinion of my employer, nor does it represent the opinion of my own company. So just bear that in mind. Also, I'm not a de facto, principal authority on. This is just the information and the knowledge I've collated over the last few years. Right. So who am I? Right. So I basically left Cape Town, South Africa. Against African military didn't work out. So I decided to go to the UK to get a good sort of combat experience over there. So 6 years, 2 years as a gunner, 4 years as a signal attachment, DHF and HF comms for companies. I then did 6 years in physical security contracting, predominantly in East and West Africa. A lot of time in Mozambique and Sierra Leone, and then some time in the Middle East as a bodyguard. Okay, after that, we'll get into it shortly. My paths crossed with someone in InfoSec, and I've been working for that person ever since. Currently, I'm a B-Sides Cape Town co-organizer. I mentor the Shellcon Raise Me program. I do a bit of shit posting on TMHC, and I've recently made mod. And then I also run a small group of InfoSec, curious people called Hack South, which is it's kind of like TMHC, not as glamorous, but it's all for South Africans in the industry. In summary, this is basically me, all my likes and desires, and my background. Right, so my path into InfoSec. So it basically is. So I was in the army. I decided to get out the military. I went to our careers officers, managers. It's about a 60-year-old former major or colonel, and I told him that I want to get into security. Now, when I mention security, it usually means physical security because that's the sort of industry I understood. I was then told, why have you considered becoming a bricklayer or a carpenter? And this just didn't fly for me. So I started building my own information and running my own track. I then, a lot of guys in my battalion flagged me as the guy that has the knowledge and does the research. So they kept coming to me, asking me the same questions, and I'd give them the same answers, but to different people. So I set up a Facebook group called Termination SharePoint. SharePoint, I learned was a bad word because I got a lot of people adding me, asking about SharePoint administration. And through that, we basically started off with guys in my battalion and grew to our regiment, and then it became a tri-service thing. And then there was also an offshoot in the United States. Through Termination SharePoint, I was introduced to someone who everyone knows now as Swordfish or Morgan. She helped me with a few bits there. She was an admin for me. But after that, we kind of lost track of each other. And then about 3.5 years ago, she introduced me to the man in your top right, Marcelo Mansur. He's the CEO of Red Blue Security. She introduced me to him saying, hey, he's coming to Cape Town. Can I give him a basic overview of the security posture in South Africa and in Cape Town, where to go, where not to go. I was running a small consulting company at that time. He came to Cape Town. He asked me what I did. I said, no, I do security consulting. I asked him what he did, and he said, no, he recruits hackers for a living. And I immediately told him, that's illegal, and I should distance myself from this person. I've always been a law-abiding citizen. From there, he told me about the industry. He told me about DEF CON. He told me about B-sides. Told me about the community and the interesting parts about it. And I found it fascinating. And I realized this is something I've been looking for a long time. I've always had high-paying jobs, but not a lot of fulfillment. So moving on from there, I joined Red Blue, and now this is my life. A lot of tabs on Chrome, over usage of my my disk and my CPU. So moving on. Okay, your entry into InfoSec. How could this look? Right, there's no proven route into security. I literally want you to repeat this after me. There's very different ways. The term is used as non-linear. There is so many different ways to get into security. What I found, in brief, is there's a few different tracks. So one is university route. So someone that's studying CS at university, they then find a hacker meetup, or they find something like community related in the university. I then get a taste for it. They sometimes change their major, get an internship, and start working professionally. The gamer route, which I've seen very common, avid gamers, they want to be the best. They find cheat codes. They end up not being happy with the cheat codes, and they start learning how to script. And then next thing you know, they're part of the hacker community. Some other bits, hacktivism seemed used to be a popular one back in 2005, 2008. This is a different way to get into it. The key in the hacktivism one is obviously not to get caught. A lot of people get influenced by parents or friends. They have a curious nature, and they start doing research, and they start figuring out stuff, and they find communities like the Many Hats Club, Hack South, B-Sides, and go from there. Okay, reroll. I see this quite a lot. It tends to be the trickier one, but it means that someone has a good baseline understanding of IT and how networking works sometimes. So this tends to be sometimes a tricky transition, especially if you've been, a sysad or a help desk individual for a long time. Sometimes that transition is tough. But I see this as a very common one. Linear is the lucky ones that are born into this age that are exploited or not exploited, that are introduced to this industry from an early age, so that they can be molded into, potentially not being a black hat and being a force for good. All right, let's go. Your first step. So I drum about this constantly. It's community engagement. Being here today, this is the first step. So congratulations on that. Getting involved in the community. There's obviously usually a lot of noise, a lot of drama, especially on Twitter. But getting involved in the community, whether it is on a Discord server like TMHC, Hack South, laptop hacking, or Darknet, or whatever, is a good start, because it's a good source of information, and you get a lot of people that can mentor you. I know there's a few people on TMHC that really do a lot for me in teaching me basic things. So it's important. That also goes for things like B-sides, like get involved. So if you can't afford to go a con, volunteer for a con. Point on that, it's as an organizer, you quickly see who the people are volunteering, because they want to make the con happen. They want to be noticed, and then you get people that volunteer for a con because they want a free ticket. Try do your bit. If you have a good organizing team, you should end up being able to enjoy the con, watching the talks that you want to watch. But the idea is you give your time. And one of the perks is obviously, it doesn't cost you anything. If you can't find your own community, and your local university, then start one. There's enough people out there that will give you enough advice about that. Don't be shy. I remember when I joined TMHC, I was really scared about joining VC. I did with a friend of mine, Sticks, and slowly but surely people started joining Voice VC, and I'm going to introduce to everyone, and then I guess I've been on there a lot. Yeah, we're all weirdos. We all have our insecurities. I know Fruit was doing a talk about that earlier. A lot of people always say, you know, when they get involved with the community, they tend to find their people. Another thing is upskill. Take advantage of free training. If there's some free training out there, like I recently signed up for an autopsy course, then go for it. ABL, I always say, always be learning. This is an industry where you constantly have to learn. I know it's sometimes daunting, but if you can do one course a year, one course every 2 years, try to do that. Yeah, if you give an opportunity, do some training. All right. For summary, there's no one way into InfoSec. Tell them us what I mean by that is I tell my trainer, I've told my mom and dad, I've told my younger cousins, like, hey, there's this industry out there and you might enjoy it. Don't be evil. Basically, don't be, I don't know if it's a peace term, don't be an asshole. There's a lot of people out there that are a lot more superior to you in skills and abilities and mindset and culture. But there's also a lot of people below you. Do what you can, be helpful. If you don't want to get involved, then just sort of, you know, stay the gray man and don't push yourself too far there. Okay, this is something I'm looking at these days. Is I now have a few skills in Cali. I can help people that are literally just getting started. I can do that because I know a few little basic things. There's a lot of people above me that know a lot more than me, like Sticks or Cyber Viking or Alan the Black. If there's anyone else, instead of having to ask them the question, come to me and, you know, you sort of climb up the track or the ladder. Become part of the conversation, part of the community, and there's some few other things. You know, if you can CFP for a con, do so. There's a lot of value in it. Always be learning, and yeah, that's that. Okay, so what matters? This is the big chunk of my talk. Okay, so okay, so the subjects I'll be covering here is resumes, LinkedIn, applications, interviews, tech tests, closing, Twitter, certs and education. I have, you know, I'm limited for time. This is something that I can talk about, and a lot of us can talk about for hours and hours. But I try to stick to some of the pertinent points. And there's obviously some memes for your entertainment. Right. So what matters on a resume? Okay, so resume is the first step in the process. A lot of people fail to realize this. They'll go, you know, why is my LinkedIn not enough? And the simple fact is that the resume is like your professional ID card. You need that resume to get sent over to a company to, you know, interview for a job. So it's important to have it. Okay, time on target. It is important to understand that if there's a big job with a lot of applications, people aren't going to open your resume and go spend 5-10 minutes on it. The first sift in a resume, you know, shortlisting, people look, I tend to look for things that make you not applicable to this job. So short stinting, you know, if you've done 2 months here, 3 months here, 4 months there, you're a high risk. I look at, it sounds bad, but I look at the negative things, right? After that is when people will spend time on your resume and look at it and assess it and look for the things that make you a valuable candidate for the job. Yeah, as an either beholder. When I do resume reviews, I always push this point. It is important to understand. I might think your resume looks amazing. The next recruiter or the next employer might think it looks terrible. It literally is an either beholder. Okay, 1 page is great, 2 pages is fine, 3 is not, 4 is 4+ is North Korea. So I found a lot of people that have been in this industry for 20 years, industry leaders that I've interviewed, that'll manage to squeeze 20 years into a 1-pager. I've then found people that have been in this industry for 2 years and have a 6-page resume. Ironically, here in South Africa, the old tradition was the longer your resume, the better you are. I think my old man used to have a 26-page resume, and I forced him down to a 1-pager. So this is an important part. Yeah. Okay, community engagement. I've talked about that quite a bit. Get involved. what it does is your community engagement. So this is, volunteering at a con, this is giving a talk at a con, or giving a workshop, or whatever. It shows commonality. It shows that you're, quote, one of us, and it's a good conversation starter. Right. A resume is a working document. It's not something you use every time you need a job, right? It is a working document. Remember that. Work on it at least once a month. If you've done a new course, if you've done something at work, you just learned about AWS or learn about this, add it to your resume. The problem happens is when your dream job might come up and you don't have a resume ready, and by the time it takes you a week to get your resume ready, you might have lost the opportunity. Okay, if in doubt, read the screen. What I mean by this is read your resume, and when you finish resume, send it to someone that's good with spelling and grammar, and make sure it is perfect. A lot of times, I'll get very frustrated people that have spelling and grammar errors. Photo. Okay, so the consensus on a photo. This is my personal consensus. Don't include a photo unless it's an amazing photo professionally done. Can a photo help? Yes. But can a photo be to your detriment? Yes, it can as well. A photo adds another layer that a recruiter or an employer can judge you on, whether consciously or subconsciously. A photo can add a bad layer. So remember that. Okay, personal, persec or opsec. When it's important to include your address, i.e. the city and the state you live in. Do not include your home address. Do not include a 152 Summerfield Lane. Just say Cape Town, South Africa, San Francisco, California. That is all you need to put in there. Don't give more information than you need to, basically. Okay, layout. This is a tough one. I don't have one specific layout I look for, but layouts are important. Make sure you have something that is new, that is new age. A lot of people have developer resumes. So there's various things you can look at there. Color, use color. I really don't think color is a problem. I like color. It highlights certain different things. What's there to talk about? So this is about not including everything in your resume. So leaving something to be discussed during an interview. Yeah, we've covered that. Okay, long service breakdown. A lot of people, if they've been at a company for 12 years, will have one little bit. If you've been at a company for 12 years, if you start off as an analyst and you became a security engineer and now you're a staff security engineer, I would break those up. It shows that you promoted well. It shows the timing in which you promoted. It once again, it adds a lot of value to yourself. 10-year legacy. So is it important to include something that you did 10 years ago? It depends on what it is. If 10 years ago you used to deliver pizzas, not really relevant. If what you did 10 years ago, military service or work in the intelligence community, then I would say include it. But if it starts getting to the 5-10 year point in the past, what a lot of people do will just have the company they work for, the title, and then the year. If the company is interested in it, they'll ask about it. Okay, so at the top of your resume, you have a summary. There's 3 points you want to cover there: what you did, what you're doing, and what you want to do in the future. Some resumes don't have a summary. You either have a summary or not. It's irrelevant to me. If you are transitioning or trying to get into security, I strongly suggest having a good summary. Okay, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, when do you work in a resume? I would say touch your resume at least once a month, once every 3 months. Tinker it, add a bit of stuff. Okay. Lead hackers. So the important thing is technical ability, but do not overstate it. You will get caught out, especially when the company has a tech test, especially if the people that are working there that are interviewing you are far superior to you in a technical ability. State what you can do, but never overreach, never overstate yourself. Okay, so a lot of people ask me, how do I display technical stuff to a non-technical recruiter? So I found this in a few resumes and I found it to be the best way to do it, right? So quickly, on the top of your resume, you build a table with 2 columns and let's say or two rows, 5 columns, 6 columns, right? On the left, you put the subject matter. So pen testing, and next to that, you will list everything that you touched or that you have experience in the right-hand column. This helps on a keyword search. This helps on a Boolean search. This helps if your resume gets passed in an applicant tracking system. This helps a non-technical recruiter understand, like, oh, this person ticks a lot of these boxes, so they must be good. I'm myself a technical recruiter, so I understand the nuances and what adds value and what does not. Okay, and these are just some really bad resume memes I found on my journeys. Okay, LinkedIn. Use your LinkedIn summary as a 2 to 3 paragraph resume. So when a profile comes up, you can only see a few lines of your summary. You have to click more to see the rest. Use that as like imagine you had to do a tweet, and in that tweet, you had to put your resume, like the pertinent points of view. It's important to have a summary. List who you are, what your skill sets are, and your community engagement. Below that. Okay, job experience. As it says here, list the companies you're working for. Try link company's page. It stands out more. Okay, recommendations. Ask recommendations. I've asked recommendations from my father, from my line managers, from people I have managed, and from my teammates. It all adds a lot of value. I quickly want to touch on skills, so that on LinkedIn there's a thing where you can add skills, various words people endorse you for. There is no value to that except one thing, right? And that is that you can list a lot of words there that will come up on a keyword search when we do a search on LinkedIn for you, which I'll show you shortly. Okay, so what do recruiters sees? Okay, so we pay a lot of money for LinkedIn, probably about $20,000-$30,000 a year. That gives us access to every profile that exists on LinkedIn, irrespective of our degrees of connection. I can search these metrics to find what I'm looking for. Do I use all of these? No, I do not. I actually use very few of them. As a search starts, you start a very specific search. You'll search people only in a certain city and state. You will search only certain skills, only certain certs, levels of degrees, whatever. And as the search goes on and you filter through people, you broaden the search. All right. So that's what happens when I run a search. It brings up this, right? It brings up this so you can see here the search on San Francisco. Skill OSCP for security engineers is a keyword for Booley, right? I start on the right. So these are company connections. Those companies I follow, that people work there. The next is open to new opportunities, which is something we'll cover shortly. So that's at the top of your thing on your profile that shows, right, I'm open to new opportunities. Then more likely to respond, does what it says in the tin. It's basically people that LinkedIn algorithm has shown to respond to emails. And the total amount of candidates is there, 71. Point to note, the LinkedIn algorithm is terrible. I still say I wish LinkedIn would hire a former head of search from Google to help them with the algorithms, but say la vie. Okay, open to new opportunities. This is a valuable tool if you're looking for a gig, right? If you have premium, there's more options, but this is what it looks like. So on your profile, you'll see you can show yourself as open to new opportunities. Point to note, people that have the system that I have, Recruiter Professional Services, can see that. No one else can. If you're worried about your company seeing it, I think they've set a filter that people in the same company can't see your profile. Doesn't mean they can't work around it, but it only shows to recruiters. You can list, if you just have the free version, you can list 5 job titles, 5 job locations, and you can select full-time, contract, or part-time. This was just me as if I was looking for a gig now. Head of security, physical, potentially. And then when this is what it looks like. Let me show you here. It will come up. I haven't actually got it. It will come up on your profile, the top of your profile. So once again, when I run a search and say now search San Francisco, the word San Francisco will be highlighted in yellow and will stand out. The more times you have a word that picks up in the search, the higher up in the search results you are. Right, so I think that is LinkedIn. Right, applications. I will touch on this briefly. So it's important to understand what to apply for. Should you apply for every job out there? I really don't think so. I think it is important to be more meticulous, right? You have to be interested in the job and interested to work in the company, all right? And it's important to understand who wrote the job description. There is some amazing job descriptions out there. There are some terrible ones. the company, it's important to remember who writes these things. Sometimes it'll be an HR representative. Sometimes it'll be I have clients that use technical writers just to writing job descriptions. It's important to also note one job description does not equal one job. A lot of times there'll be a job description for 5 positions at a company, and they've kind of amalgamated it, right? So it's important to remember that, because you'll think, oh, but I've got to have this skill and that skill and that skill. If you fit about 50% of that job description, you're good to go, right? So this is an article that I read recently that said that women tend to apply for a job when they fit 100% of the criteria, and men will apply when they hit 60% of the criteria. In my belief, if you believe in your heart of hearts you can do that job, right, apply for it. If you think you're reaching to get that job, don't be too disheartened when you get rejected, right? It's just part of it. And this was some other stuff I found. I've got the link at the end. It was an article done by an executive from LinkedIn. Okay, interviews. What matters? Okay, so interviews can go down in various different ways. It could be a Zoom meeting, it can be a WebEx, it can be whatever, right? Your first interview might be face to face. So it's important to prepare yourself for that. If you're going to do a Zoom meeting, don't ask them, is it going to be video? Just be prepared for that. Okay. Sometimes you might have to do a Zoom call, and you might have to do a tech test with like a virtual machine. So be ready for that. Okay, treat every interview like it's your dream job. All right. I found it recently that I have sent people jobs, right? They have then interviewed with that interview, because they, as you know, they have many interviews with various different companies, but they don't treat each one specially. If you can't treat one specially, maybe space them out more so you have more time to prepare. But what you don't want to happen is you to fail the interview because you weren't prepared or you didn't know anything about the company, and then afterwards you realize it was a tremendous opportunity. It was a very high paying job with really good perks. In that case, you are literally the only one to be that failed there. So treat every job like it could be a dream job. Right. So 3 no's, and I've seen this before. If someone like me sends you a job, an offensive security engineering position at a company, all right, don't try prove your worth before you are asked to do so. Right. When you're doing, if you can do OSINT on the company and the people interviewing you, but keep it at a very high level. Don't start checking what their passwords are, and don't start looking for them on leak websites. It can creep someone out very quickly. So yeah, that, as I say there, show your abilities when you are asked to do so. Okay, video conferences, make sure you wear pants. Be yourself 100%. And remember, it's a two-way range, okay? So in an interview, it's important to note, the company is seeing if you're a suitable candidate for them, for the position. They're looking at your technical ability, if you're a culture fit, and they're looking at your background. But it's important to remember, as I said there, it is a two-way range. You are assessing the company as much as they are assessing you, all right? So keep that in mind. If you have questions on the interview, ask questions. It's something that people fail to realize. You are in a power seat as well. It's not that the company, no matter how many people are on the interview panel, you also possess and hold power. And these are some things to look at. Do I have a good manager? What are my team members like? What are the perks for the company? There's various things to consider. Okay, another thing that I find some people do, some people don't. Communicate with your recruiter. We are not just, pimps of the infosec industry. Some are, but a lot of us are not, right? I myself, I do forget people. I have various tools and systems to remember people and to check in with people, but I try record as little information about people as I can. Stay in touch with the recruiter. If the client, sometimes the client will speak to the recruiter to get your availability for an interview, and then it'll be like a little love triangle going on. Sometimes it is the recruiter will know that it's better for you just to work directly with a company. But remember, that company might be hiring 1,000 people. They haven't got time to speak to us, the recruiter, to say, hey, this interview's been booked. Hey, this was a reschedule. If something happens, if the recruiter has Signal or email or WhatsApp or whatever, just drop them a message and say, hey, got an email from the client. They want to reschedule, or got an email from a client. I'm moving to the next phase. That way, the recruiter can also pull information from the client. And if you're having trouble with the process, speak to the recruiter. Okay, what matters in tech tests? Tech tests are a tricky one. I have seen various different tech tests. Some of them will be a hacker rank test. Some of them will be a 24-hour CTF with a executive report afterwards and another summary afterwards. Prepare yourself for it to be crazy, all right? And hope that it's not. Yeah, as I said, yeah. Sometimes on a tech test, you'll be asked to write a report. Some companies will send you like a 24-hour CTF exam works. Some will give you 3 different CTFs of 12 hours. There's such a wide mix. Usually companies use their own virtual machines or their own sort of CTF challenges. Some companies I know use Hack the Box. They'll use stuff from VulnHub. If you've if you've done something on VulnHub that they sent to you, that you've hit the jackpot. Okay, closing the deal. Okay, points to consider before accepting an offer. Does the job fit your skills and fit your abilities? If they do not accept an offer. If you are doubting if you're going to be good at this job, speak to the company, right? A lot of times they're not going to see that as you don't have confidence. They're going to see that as you being humble, right? And if they are thinking that it is a reach, they will probably tell you like, look, this is going to be a big challenge for you, but we believe you can do it, right? Don't doubt yourself, but just have confidence in what you do, but don't go for something that you manage to blag your way through the interview, because what's going to happen is you're going to start that job and you're probably going to get terminated within a month. Does the company match your ethics and culture? If I found with like a lot of veterans in the US, when they join a hardcore hacker company, they struggle with the culture. Make sure the culture is a fit for you, right? And then obviously, do I get on with the company? So it's important to note this, right? There's 3 parts you need to consider: the short-term, medium, and the long-term gain. Short-term gain is the salary, the perks, the benefits, all that stuff. The medium is what am I going to gain from this job technically? And the long term is the most important thing. You got to think about how this company and how this job is going to look on your resume. How will the title look on your resume? And what value does it bring to your future? I feel that part is the most important, especially if you're going to make a career out of this. Yes, you might want to take a high paying job now, but maybe the job is over in 9 months, or maybe something happens with an unstable company. It is important to think about that long-term thing. When I was a contractor, I used to look at what do they pay me per day versus what the circumstances are. And I've worked in some really crazy places. And then what is the value of this in my resume? And especially when you have competing offers, that last part tends to be the tipping scale. Okay, money talking agencies. Quickly about this, people ask me, do you talk to a recruiter about money? The answer is, if you trust the recruiter and you believe they have your best interests in heart, yes. Talk to them about what you earn, talk to them about what you're looking for. But most importantly, in that discussion, try and get a bracket from them about what is on offer. Usually it's what my dad always says, it's whoever talks loses. Whoever talks first loses. Okay. Discuss money with them, right? If you've been in a job for 6 years, you deserve a decent pay jump, right? But it is important to understand what number they are sending you over at. Sometimes I will send people over and say, we didn't talk about money. Sometimes I'll say, hey, this person is looking for $150,000. Okay. Make sure you know what that number is. Okay. Because some recruiters will bump it, because the higher you get paid, the higher we get paid. So that's important. Okay. Twitter. Very quickly about Twitter. Get involved. Who to follow? I say follow the best, follow the noobs, follow. A lot of people don't follow the rest of this. I sometimes fail at this, but don't talk about sex, politics, or religion. Don't air your dirty laundry, and don't troll people. If you want to troll people, set up a troll account. When it comes to dirty laundry, you'll see on my Twitter every now and then I will post the words, I will not get involved with South African politics. And that's where I want to say something, but it just isn't the place. Okay. Quickly about certifications, right? When do you do a course? Well, if you have a budget from your company, do a course. Okay. You have to think about the value you're going to gain from it. And there's very different options, as I've shown here. Okay. Always check with your company to see if they have an educational reimbursement program. A lot of our clients have $5,000 or $10,000 educational reimbursement programs. So you can do the course once a year through the company. Okay. It's important to understand when you're doing a course, especially something like with offensive security. Okay. Think about the methodology of what you are doing. All right. Do not think about getting that piece of paper to put on your LinkedIn, put on your Twitter. Yes, there is value in that. Okay. But you need to understand the bigger picture of the course you're doing, the challenge you're going to face in that course, right? Because if you don't, you will not be able to apply what you've learned in that course in the real world. Okay, and yeah, as I was saying, if you can't afford a course, do a course. Do what this guy does with the balaclava. Just hack the planet and figure it out as you go along. Okay, short term, long term, medium term. This is something I've already discussed, right? The decision's always going to be about the money, the job, and the resume. Running low on time. Okay, so if you give me 1 second, I will check here. Okay, I've done this fairly hard, right? Okay, so tips and summaries. Different kind of tips, but anyway. Okay, Recruiter 101. It's important to understand how a recruiter works. Okay, like I've discussed with you today, to understand the reason why they do this. Right, I don't do this to buy Porsches and buy Ferraris and live La Vida Loca. I'm doing this as a job, as anyone else would. To feed my family, maybe go on a nice holiday in December's with my daughter and my missus, and to take care of ourselves. This is not. There's a lot of recruiters out there making a ton of money. I do this because I have a passion for it. I've often probably seemed like a terrible recruiter because a candidate of mine will have 3 offers, of which one of them are mine, and I'll tend to advise them on taking another offer because it's going to be better for their career. I believe, karma, that will come back to me. Get involved with the community, as I mentioned before. I hit on this a lot. Always be learning. If you have the opportunity to do training, do training. Help the less experienced and learn from those more. I am a testament to this. I'm doing this. The guys that taught me, the guys and girls have taught me how to set up a VM, how to set up Kali, how to run basic commands. I know I'm sometimes a pain in the ass about it, but it's important to do that. And I know one day there's going to be someone that just found out about this community that I can say, hey, this is how Kali Linux works. This is how basic commands work. And once they have mastered that, I can pass them on to someone more advanced than me. Treat every job like it's a dream job. You do not want to regret doing badly at an interview because you didn't prepare, right? And you found out that one of your friends got that job and it's literally your dream job. Okay, always treat it as if it could be. If you trust your recruiter, talk money. Okay, but don't only think about the short-term gain. Think about your career. Do not bypass your recruiter. Usually, our contracts are stipulated in such a way that if you bypass the recruiter, okay, we'll still get paid. It creates a very bad situation between a recruiter and a client. If a recruiter emails you about a job, hit them up. A lot of people have like a little sentence they'll send to a recruiter that's automated. Do that. Get back to them. Do not try OSINT the job and bypass them. It just creates a really bad experience. Do not hack the job is important. Here's some sources and links. I don't know why I put the Giphy one in there, but anyway. Okay, we finished that. Questions? There's any questions? I don't know how much time we have. Left. Maybe Ray can assist me with that.
All right, like we have literally about 2 minutes. So,
Okay.
is there anyone out a question? I have a question from MPez. When seeking for candidates, why does a recruiter put millions of requirements that will overwhelm the candidate and push them away?
It does happen a lot. I try to advise companies that if they have a 3-page job description, it is just going to scare people off. I always find when I read a job description, it can usually be summarized in about 5 or 6 lines. So don't be too disheartened. Remember what I said, one job description doesn't equal one job usually. Okay. Sometimes that one job description can equal 5 different jobs. So maybe you're strong at a third of that job description, but weak at the rest. Chances are they'll hire you for that 1/3 because you're a specialist in that, and they'll hire 2 other people to cover the rest. Not always the case, but it's important to remember that.
All right, Angus. Well, thank you so much for your time, your insight, your experience. I think it was truly valuable for everyone out there. And stay safe in South
I
Africa,
will try
my
my best.
friend.
Just FYI, I had a slide with all my thanks and links, and somehow that's disappeared. And I'll be uploading this to GitHub shortly.
All right,
Thanks
post
very
that
much, sir.
sucker on Twitter. All right. So we now have about a 5-minute break. Kim, I'm going to turn things over to you because you're going to be introducing our next speaker, Mike Jervis. I believe will be joining us in about 5 minutes or so.